Good morning and welcome everyone to Unity Palo Alto Spiritual Center. I'm Reverend John Riley, and I have the joy of serving as your senior minister. And if you're new here to Unity, what we want you to know is that Unity is a worldwide inclusive spiritual movement, welcoming people from all walks of life, people who are looking for a greater expression and relationship with Spirit, people who are looking to experience greater health, wholeness, and abundance, people who are looking for spiritual growth and transformation, or to simply do life better. We're so glad that you're with us here today, for we teach positive, practical spiritual principles that you can apply in your life every day to help you live a more joyful and abundant life. Now, I'm excited about our service today because we have as our guest speaker, we have Jho Angeles, we've got Brenna as our platform leader, and Deborah Winters as our soloist. And so we're so excited and so blessed, and I'm so grateful that all three of you are here to support your spiritual community in this way. And so we begin now with our opening song. So Deborah, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm tired of the guilt that brings me pain. Now is the time for me to let go of the shame. I leave the past behind me. I see anew. Yes, I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. I forgive me. I forgive me. Everything that I've been holding on to, I let go. I surrender. I surrender. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. I forgive me. I forgive me. Everything that I've been holding on to, I let go. I surrender. I surrender. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. Yes, I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. I forgive me. I'm ready for my change. I forgive me. Everything that I've been holding on to, I let go.
Thank you, Deborah. Good morning. My name is Brenna Franson, and I am thrilled to be your platform assistant this morning on this Lady Power Day. All right, it's so good to connect with you, and welcome to Unity Palo Alto's online service. We are a part of a worldwide movement of prayer, publishing, and education, teaching practical, positive, spiritual principles that you can apply each and every day to help you live a more joyful and abundant life. Unity is a spiritual movement. We're welcoming, inclusive, and wherever you are on your spiritual path, you are welcome here. We have 5 principles that guide us on that path. The first one, God is. There's only one power active in the universe and in our lives, and that is God, the good, omnipotent. The second principle is that God is the substance and intelligence innate in every single person and all of creation. The third principle is the law of mind action. Thoughts in mind produce after their kind. We have the ability to affect our world. And we do this through the practice of prayer and meditation. This connects us with the creative, constructive power of God that works in and through us. We've got to do this each and every day, the practical application. As we live according to these truths, we become what we were created to be, living expressions of the image of God. These core principles guide us in living our vision statement, and I invite you to affirm that vision statement with me. Together, centered in God, we co-create a world that works for all. And so it is. All right, we are a welcoming and vibrant community with many virtual opportunities for spiritual growth, sacred service, and celebrating our community. First off, learn the powerful principle of prosperity and how to create unlimited abundance in your life. Release your success power through the study of spiritual economics. Using spiritual economics, the principles and process of true prosperity by Eric Butterworth as the basis for this course, Reverend John leads you to discover how to have prosperity flowing in your life and solve other issues around money. This is a great course for anyone wanting true prosperity in their lives. Next, please join us, and I do mean us because that's me and Karen Friedman, on a fascinating and empowering look at race in America. Author and professor Ibram X. Kendi writes compellingly to transform your view of racism. By exploring unjust systems, we gain a better understanding of how we got here and what we can do to make things better. Space is limited, so register early for this 7-week book study on how to be an anti-racist. It's on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. I hope to see you there. And next, the Palo Alto Speaker Series continues to help people live happier and healthier lives. On Thursday, February 4th, Dr. Mitra Ray will explain the science of the connection between the gut and the brain. Dr. Ray is a biochemist with a PhD in cellular biology from Stanford University who is fiercely committed to being a trusted guide for those who love life. Tickets are available on paloaltospeakerseries.com. For information on these and other opportunities, go to unitypaloalto.org, and you can check out our social media channels. There's so many ways to connect with us and share the good news that is Unity Palo Alto. We are the good news. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, we invite you to pop on over to that chat box and greet each other, or just put your hand on the heart or stretch it out in front of you to send that love out to your friends in Unity. If you're tuning in for the first time or back from a long absence, we'd love to hear from you. We invite you to fill out an online connection card, which can be found on our website at unitypaloalto.org/live. Happy Sunday, everyone. We now turn it over to Deborah for our call to worship song.
Thanks, Brenna. Your class sounds amazing. Spirit of the living God, move afresh in me. Spirit of the living God, move afresh in me. Melt me more
Today's daily word is oneness, and our affirmation is, I am divine. Over the years, I have learned there is a spark of divinity within me and within all people. This divine spark binds us as members of one family and deepens us and our awareness of God. Today, my understanding of my divinity expands. My divine nature is so much more than a spark. It is my essence, who I truly am. I realize I don't have to rely on anything outside myself for love, comfort, and guidance. Everything I could ever need from God is already mine and expressing as me. My realization of oneness extends to all people, whom I now see as fellow divine beings. Freed from all illusion of separation, I am aware of the divine presence everywhere, expressing through everyone. We are divine. And our scripture is from John chapter 17, verse 21. That they may all be one. As you, Father, are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. Know that there's a reason and believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And someone will come running, and I know they'll take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around, and you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found. Know your voice is heard, and suddenly see that all is new. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around, and you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around, and
Well, thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Brenna. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's just such an honor for me to be with you this morning to introduce our guest speaker. It is so important for us as a spiritual community to open ourselves up to new voices, to new ideas, to new expressions of spirit. Now, you know her as our platform leader, Jho Angeles, but Jho is also a ministerial student. She's been with Unity Palo Alto for many, many, many years and has been with us taking classes and really, teaching all of us from her heart. And I'm so blessed that we have the opportunity to support our students, people who are moving into ministry, people who are following the path and lifting themselves up to be that expression so that others, they may lead others, so that they may teach others, so that they may shine their light, so that others can see the light within themselves. And so today we are welcomed by our wonderful congregant, Jho Angeles. And what I invite you to do now is just open your heart to love, open your ears to wisdom, and allow this beautiful message to sink in. So ladies and gentlemen, I now give you Jho Angeles.
Thank you so much, John, for this privilege. I feel so honored to do my first talk to what I've considered to be my home for the last, I think, since 2012. Unity Palo Alto has been my home and has been a healing sanctuary for me. So good morning to all of you. And thank you so much, Deborah, for that beautiful song. And thank you so much, Brenna, for being our platform this morning. So when John did ask me to speak, and we were discussing back and forth, what am I going to talk about, John? What am I going to talk about? So he said the one thing that has been so alive in me within the last 6 months is forgiveness. So that's why the title of my talk is Forgive and Replace. And to be more specific, the forgiveness practice that I've been doing within the last 6 months is called Radical Forgiveness. It's actually a book written by Colin Tipping. And along with the book, he actually created tools. And one of the tools that has been so helpful for me within the last 6 months is actually this. It's called the Radical Forgiveness Worksheet. And just to give you a background, I was at the point, much like what Deborah sang, I was part of a church, old church, for 8 years. And when I left that church, I was pretty hurt and pretty harmed. And for 20 years, I would not do anything about it. And I knew something last year was Spirit was putting it in my heart. Jho, you need to deal with this. You need to deal with this. You need to forgive them. And lo and behold, Unity of Houston came up with a forgiveness sanctuary where they are using the radical forgiveness tool. So, and that radical forgiveness, the challenge that I took on was to complete one of these worksheets for 30 days, particularly for this church. And I will tell you, much like what Deborah was saying, for the first, I think 18 days of that was difficult because I had to, the memories, the feelings started bubbling up. It was rather difficult. And thank goodness for Spirit. I kept on with it. I pressed on with it every day, completing one that even my husband was actually telling me, did you do your dailies? Did you do your dailies? And that was helpful. So I had to do my daily. And I completed one sheet every day. And as I do by day 21 or day 20, things started shifting for me. And because before I started the worksheets, I said, what is it exactly? Why do I want to do this 30-day thing? What would my intention be? What would the end in mind be? And I wrote down that at the end of this 30-day, that when I think of these people from my old church, when I look at their Facebook, my first thoughts about them is not the harm that they have caused me, that instead I can actually think positive thoughts about them. And that I am not going to say when I see Facebook that why are you happy? Instead, I can actually be genuinely happy for them, for the way that they are expressing the divine in their life. And yes, it took about 3 weeks into it. And now I can actually honestly say that, because I have seen some of, their posts, I can honestly and genuinely say from the heart, I am happy for them. I am happy for their expression of the divine and for God. And so how exactly does radical forgiveness do this, as opposed to conventional forgiveness? And conventional forgiveness is built on let bygones be bygones. Time will heal the wounds. Oh, you forgive, you forget. And what I find is that bygones be bygones doesn't work for me, because I feel I am just tippy-toeing around what is the issue here. What are the emotions I'm feeling? Almost like I'm spiritually bypassing when I'm doing that. I'm just sweeping it under the rug and I'm not dealing with it head on. And since I had this thing for about 20 years, time definitely does not heal the wound. Yes, it was out of sight. It was definitely out of mind, but it was not healed for sure. Forgive and forget, definitely. There was no forgetting there. As Jesus has said, pointed out many times, like how many times are you supposed to forgive your brother or your sister or anyone who has hurt you? He mentioned 70 times 7, which simply means pretty much until you completed it. And it's almost like infinity for me. So one thing about radical forgiveness that it has done is built on this premise that I love hearing from Reverend John Riley, is that life does not happen to us, it happens for us. So it's like the Q process. This life that I'm living right now, this life that you're living right now, is not just happening to me, it is happening for me. And that this upsetting situation I had with this old church, it didn't just happen so that I'll be in pain my entire life. It is actually for the healing of that wound. And I'll tell you later more about what that wound is like, and to foster my spiritual growth. Because I can tell you, for that 30-day, I felt myself grow so much more. So how this sheet, because it's actually about 3 pages long, and usually before I complete one of this worksheet, I actually say, I do similar to heart math, where I go within, I turn within, I center myself, and then I say this favorite verse of mine that Deborah sang so beautifully. It's from Luke chapter 1, verse 78 to 79. By the tender compassion of our God, the dawn from on high shall break upon us, to shine on those that dwell in darkness and in the shadow of death, and to guide our feet unto the way of peace. Like, I realize that compassion that is God and that is me and within me is vital for me to realize in order to walk the forgiveness worksheet. And the one thing about the worksheet, it has statements and it has questions that actually I've written on it. And after I write on each box, I actually read it out loud. That's the instruction of the paper. And from how I start, usually from that state of feeling a victim to a state of empowerment, like by the 3rd page. Because it starts off with the first one. It has 5 stages actually. So the first stage is to tell the story. And what they mean the story is like my victim story. How did this particular church actually hurt me? What was upsetting about it? What hurt me, and why did it hurt me? And I think it was important to know why it hurt me, because then I saw like which lines or boundaries that I have that have been crossed. What values do I have that have been violated somehow? And then, so part of that telling the story and it isn't just limited to actually people. What I've learned also that the person, it could also be a situation as well. It could be health, it could be COVID-19, it could be finances, it could be any of that, the politics that we have. Basically, anyone that I have put out of my heart, or anyone that I have criticized, complained about, judged, condemned, a whole gamut. And then moving, because the story, when it comes up, I can tell you feelings are going to come up. And I love this quote from Reverend Sheila, who leads the Forgiveness Sanctuary from Houston. She says, if you have no feeling, no healing. That means you got to feel the feelings in order to have the healing. And between from telling the story to feeling the feeling, I can tell you from that point on, I am definitely not spiritual bypassing, like just sweeping this under the rug. I'm feeling it in the body or in my heart. And from that point, it doesn't stop there. Thank goodness, because it has 3 more steps. Then next to that is collapsing the story. The collapse of the story is that it has 2 drivers, actually. First, most likely the story that I have written down in number 1 I have an interpretation about it. I have a perception about it. I have my say, like, and with the old church that I go to, I say, oh, they were just selfish, or they were just out there for my money. I had those interpretations running, and I wrote that a lot. And then on top of the interpretations, normally there is a core negative belief that drove that story. And radical forgiveness actually has boxes for it, so that's helpful. So I don't have to invent the wheel. And the main things that came up for me usually is the feeling of I am not enough, I'm not good enough, it's not good to be me. With a particular church, I must obey or I will suffer. So those things come up. Like I'm beginning to see, wow, now there's more to the story. There are things that are driving the story. And along with the drivers, part of the worksheet also ask for me or anyone who completes it to identify if this storyline has happened before. May not be with the same people, but with other people. And with mine, it did. It did happen that this situation that I had with the church has actually happened to me even as a child. And in that regard was being molested as a kid, being taken advantage in that way, or feeling manipulated in that sense. So I'm beginning to see that, oh, so this is not an isolated case. Didn't just show up today. It actually has a storyline. And I can go back to that storyline. And the beautiful thing about that storyline, it doesn't have to stay just as the storyline. Because the next pages actually shifts from that storyline to being reframed as the story is being reframed. And it has this line that every time I read it, I already start feeling the shift. Because it says, I realize that nothing you, that person, or that situation have done is either right or wrong. I am now able to release the need to blame you or anyone else. And I release the need to be right about this. And I am willing to see the perfection in the situation just the way it is. And the key ingredient that I keep seeing in Radical Forgiveness Sheet is the willingness. It doesn't mean I'm completely sold out. Believe me, there are moments that I would read that, I'm like, God, heaven help me. But then I would say, I am willing. And I think it's just that act, just even saying that will, it's already like that faith is the size of a mustard seed. I'm willing to go there. Yes, it might be a small step, but it's enough to move the mountain, to move that state of victimhood to state of empowerment. And I dig deeper into what is perfection really, And one thing that I realized what perfection is, one thing that we've always have liked to say, is who have I come here to be? And I know from And the one that Brenna was talking about, that the divine spark, that essence within you and I that's seeking to express itself. And I know from last week we had the words, our words for the year. Mine this year is mindful. And that perfection that's seeking to emerge in your life might be love, joy, faith, fun, prosper, health. So that is, and the one thing that actually I saw sparkle and luminous, I was like, those are the perfection that is seeking to emerge. And I am willing to see that. And it's interesting that as I'm doing a radical forgiveness worksheet, one thing that came to me was being mindful is an act of self-love. I was like, whoa, that is the perfection that's seeking. And slowly with that perfection, I actually get to write that out. Once I have that vision, or at least the glimpse of that perfection, it's now time to integrate that shift, meaning there is a portion towards the last page of the sheet that says it involves forgiving myself and forgiving the other person. And by the way, as Wayne Dyer said, all forgiveness is basically self-forgiveness. And the reason it not just forgives, but it also replaces when I do radical forgiveness is that it helps me express that gratitude and appreciation to the other person for whatever gift or lesson that they are bringing or they have brought forth in my life. So I have forgiven the upset, the pain, but I also replace that upset with a gratitude to them for showing up in my life. And before, and like as my experience usually is that when sometimes it takes me a while to even start the worksheet because I just know, like, even if I've done it a few times, it could be heavy and I could feel discombobulated. But at the end of it, I can tell you I feel so much expanded, so much open, so much lighter. And don't worry, I actually don't save the sheets. I don't have them in my house unless, they're blank. But one thing I do is I actually either tear them apart or I shred them. Lately, I've been burning. I don't know why. I think it reminds me of our burning bowl. So I burn it. And then lately, what I've learned is, so I can kind of embody the learning that I got, is to write the realization in a 3x5 card. And one of the things that I wrote is that it says, I let go of the fears that trigger me to bolt and that drive me to avoid. Instead, I let the divine love that is within me and is me to embolden my courage to face what is and to fuel my grit to stay put, to welcome and learn from what is. So it's been a very beautiful, beautiful practice for me. It's been a definite shift in terms of just forgiving and then replacing. That's why for the affirmation that we have, this came up for me. It says, I'll read it to you and then I will invite you to affirm it with me. As I forgive myself and others, I let go of emotional pain and unmet needs and simply let emotional healing and divine love wash over me and fill me. From this wellspring of love, I release any disempowering beliefs as I step into taking back my power and owning my unconditional worthiness. So I'll read it again. I invite you to affirm it with me. As I forgive myself and others, I let go of emotional pain and unmet needs, and I simply let emotional healing and divine love wash over me and fill me. From this wellspring of love, I release disempowering beliefs as I step into taking back my power and owning my unconditional worthiness. And by the way, if you want to have a copy of the worksheet, it's actually available at www.radicalforgiveness.com. And now I invite you, so let's take this affirmation into our meditation. So allow yourself to get comfortable. Close your eyes if that is comfortable for you, or simply soften your gaze. And take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. Hold it at the top and sigh it out. Take another deep, cleansing breath, holding it at the top and sighing it out. And one last time, take another deep, cleansing breath, holding it at the top and sighing it out. And just return to your normal breathing at this time. If you notice if you have any discomfort in your body, in your thoughts, or in your emotions, just notice them and just simply acknowledge them. You can say to these body sensations, thoughts, or emotions, just say, I see you, I hear you, and I feel you, and just let them be. You can even say to these sensations, thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up so that I can heal them, so I can feel them. And then say to yourself that I love myself for having them anyway. If love is too strong of a word, you can say, I am willing to be willing to love myself for having them. And from this place of self-love, you can say, I am willing to see the perfection in this situation. And I am choosing the power and the path of peace. And we take this peace into a moment of silence. From our silence, we say, may we all stand firm in the knowledge and comfort that all things are now, have always been, and forever will be in divine order, unfolding according to a divine plan. And may we truly surrender to this truth, whether we understand it or not. And we also ask for support in consciousness in feeling our connection with the divine part of us, with everyone and with everything, so that we can truly say and feel we are one. And from this place of oneness, we sing the Alleluia.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
And with a nice, deep, cleansing breath, let us return our attention to this space and to this time as we move into a time of affirmative prayer. From that space of that divinity within us, from that space of holding that love within us, let us expand that energy so that it fills our hearts and fills our prayer chest with our love. If there's anybody who you hold in prayer, I invite you to say their name out loud now or bring their name to mind. For all of the prayers that we hold in our hearts, for all of the prayers in our prayer chest, we know that divine love is doing its perfect work here and now in each situation, revealing that divine flow of life, love, and wisdom in each person, allowing them to discover that spiritual magnificence that lives within them, that moves within them, that breathes them. And with that love in our heart, we say the same prayer for all of our world, national, state, and local leaders, seeing them making wise and loving decisions for peace on earth, goodwill, equality, and justice for all people. And with that love in our hearts, we hold all of the people who have been affected by the COVID-19 virus and all of the caregivers who are working the front lines to support us, to keep us healthy and whole. We're so grateful for their work. And for this time together, for this opportunity to celebrate our shared spiritual experience, to celebrate that divine wisdom that's within us, that love that is within us. We say thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. And so it is. Amen.
How was it, babe?
Thank you. Today is Joe, we can hear you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for your talk, Joe, and John for that wonderful blessing, and Deborah for your wonderful music. Today is the 4th Sunday of the month, so we are going to bless each other. So you can go ahead and put those spirit fingers out with a blessing, saying, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ consciousness expressing as you. Thank you.
And now we step into our practice of living from the flow of abundance with our love offering. Unity Palo Alto is a self-sustaining spiritual center, and we are supported by you and your growth and your donations to our spiritual center. So if you feel uplifted and inspired by today's service, we invite you to make a donation. And there's so many ways in which you can donate, whether it's through PayPal, on our website, or simply sending us a check in the mail. And we're so grateful for all of the opportunities that we have to serve you. And if you are uplifted, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and share our posts on your favorite social media channel. Now, the affirmation that we say together is on the screen, and I'll invite you to affirm it with me. Together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. And so it is. And now to Deborah.
Kind friends gather round. There's something I would say, that what brings us together here has blessed us all today. Love has made a circle that holds us all inside, where strangers are as family, loneliness can't hide. You must give yourself to love, for love is what we're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. I've walked these mountains in the rain and learned to love the wind. watch the day begin. I always knew I'd find you, though I never did know how. Like sunshine on a cloudy day, you stand before me now. You must give yourself to love, for love is what we're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love.
Give yourself to love. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, Jho. What an incredible opportunity for us to experience your heart. Thank you for diving deep and for sharing that wonderful experience of the forgiveness practice. And I'm so grateful to have you as part of our spiritual community. And what a joy and blessing you are to all of us. So grateful that we can looking forward to hearing your voice again in the future. And now we move to our prayer for protection. I'll invite you to affirm it with me together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. Love and blessings, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon.